a friend. Because you also get this emotional feeling. You often have emotional release, and you get this sense of connectedness to other people. So it's got elements of all those different things.
Is it possible to do this on yourself, or does it have to be?
No, I wish. Now, what we do, there's a part of the program where we teach you how to use the anchors that we've created in the session to recreate the breath and get the energy. And you can use that in a number of ways in your life. If you have a job interview coming up or something like that, you can energize that part of the brain, and it gives you this sense of empowerment. And it'll help you push through things that you weren't able to push through before.
I hope when we have the demonstration that you touch on those anchors.
Oh, I will. Yeah.
And
that's
for
a
those
good
of
idea.
you don't know well, I'll ask you. You want to explain to our audience what an anchor is, because they might not understand the psychological use of an anchor.
Well, with this we use it a little differently from I would in regular psychology. But what we do is what a heart session is I'm making low force contacts just with my hands on different pathways in the body. Some of them are along the spine, and some of them are in other places, where when we cue those pathways in a certain sequence, in a certain trajectory within the body field, it sends energy up into the prefrontal cortex. And when that happens, the person's breath expands, and it expands sort of vertically and horizontally. And then
so it's a much fuller, deeper, longer breath.
Yes,
Okay.
Much fuller, deeper. But it's not so much a conscious breathing like you would do in pranayama with yoga teaching. It's a similar type of breath, but it's more spontaneous in that. It's more you just get a feeling like you want to breathe. And what the breath is a feedback mechanism back to the higher part of the brain. It wants to create more oxygen and more metabolism to itself. It's fascinating to see. I'm glad that you let us do a demonstration.
And you talked about more metabolism to the brain. Our audience may not understand that, so you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. A lot of the reason, I think what's really important about the prefrontal cortex is that research shows that we only use about 5% of that part of the brain. Now, this is the highest part of our brain, where they call it the seat of human potential.
It's the most evolved part of the brain?
The most evolved, the latest edition of the brain.
And I've also heard it referred to as the executive center of the brain.
It is the executive center. It's where all of our executive centers are. As we were talking about earlier with ADD, it's the part of the brain that allows you to make decisions. So, and not just decisions between good and bad, decisions between better and best. So it really has an impact on our ability to do long-term planning, to be able to follow the plans through to fruition. So much. And we use 5% of it.
Yeah, well, and I'll add, using the work of Dr. Amen, according to Dr. Daniel Amen, author of Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. Prefrontal cortex also involved forward thinking.
Absolutely.
Learning from life experiences.
Yes.
Self-monitoring, self-supervision, planning, organization.
Everything that's important to being successful and happy in life. And we use, on average, 5% of it. 95% of our human potential is dormant.
Do you know any other way to stimulate the prefrontal cortex?
I really don't, and that's part of the reason I put my life on hold and trained in this. The only other thing I know of is very long-term meditators. The Dalai Lama has a group of monks that he has done some research with, and they've meditated for probably 4 hours a day for 30 years. And they are able to go into this deep meditative state to change their brain waves. They've hooked them up to EEGs too, and have been able to see the prefrontal cortex light up. But that's all that I've been able to find. I don't know of anything else. We try different drugs, we do different things, but there really isn't anything that just lights up the prefrontal cortex.
All right, other than heart.
Heart, yeah, as far as we know.
Well, Erica, do you want to do this demonstration? And this is Erica.
Yeah, this is Erica Harris, and she is a client at the Downtown Center. We have 2 centers in Chicago, mine in Lakeview and one downtown in Grant Park. So I've never worked on Erica before. And what you're going to see when we start this demonstration, you're going to see her breath change and some movement, and it can look a little bizarre at first. So, but it's what makes it so amazing.
Is it okay if I ask Erica a few questions?
Yes,
first?
sure.
If you can grab that microphone. There you go. And if I ask too personal questions, just let me know and just say you'll take a pass. What led you to study with heart and to be treated with heart?
The 95% dormancy of my brain was unacceptable.
Were you?
I was outraged to learn
How did you
this.
find out about it?
Because I'm a geek. Because in all truth, like I really do have like a, I won't call it a fetish, but I'm curious about the nervous system and brain science, brain anatomy. So I would read it. Like
what do you do for a day job?
Oh, I'm a freelance writer.
Okay.
And heart is a big part of the transition that I made from corporate America to creating a life that honors the truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you have your first heart session?
December.
Okay. And how many sessions have you had?
Nearly 20.
I was going to say you must be close.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
And the improvements, have they been steady across, or do you have like a big leap initially and then another big leap and then it's less beneficial, or you feel like the initial treatments are holding in?
Yeah, those are great questions. And my experience of it has been, heart is human emergence and rapid transformation. And so the R of that, the rapid part, has been the most exciting and also the most challenging thing to keep up with. Because you make these leaps, you get 10 steps ahead of fear, and then you got to integrate, because, so there's this constant kind of like back and forth, but I welcome the integration, but.
It can be rapid, though. It can be rapid. It depends on the person.
And is there, because our brain and our body cycle, is there a particular time of the day in which treatment is better?
No. No, doesn't seem to matter. No.
Okay.
You're right, there is a sort of cyclical thing, but basically people just book their appointments when they can, and it doesn't matter. We like people at first to come in once a week because we're creating that new physiology and we're strengthening those neural pathways. But after that, they can come in once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks.
All right. Well, Erica, you can hook up that microphone and please begin the demonstration, and I'll
catch it if it falls.
I'll ask you questions, or why don't you just describe what you're doing?
I will. You don't want to ask her any questions while I'm working on her, because she'll sort of be a little, not completely out of it, but she'll be sort of in a zone. But when she comes up, that would be a better time. Okay, I'm going to...
Is it okay if I ask you questions, though?
Yeah, I need to concentrate when I'm making the contacts, but then feel free.
Okay.
So I'm going to start making these low force contacts in different areas of her body. And then when I do, first I need to just feel her a little bit. I've never worked with Erica before. Okay.
I can hear the breath deepening.
Yeah, the breath tends to deepen pretty much right away. She's had quite a number of sessions.
And I noticed that she lifts her legs. Is that common?
Yeah, people move sort of in their own way. But what you'll see as we get going, you're going to start seeing that wave-like movement that goes through the body. This is what's so amazing. And what happens is as that wave starts moving through the body, it's kicking stress out. So that lower brain stress starts getting kicked out, and then the breath keeps getting sort of bigger and larger and more fuller as the session goes. And we also change positions. so that you're getting more and more energy up into the prefrontal cortex. By the end of the session, you're blissed out. You're laying on the table, totally blissed